instances. We have also received the allegations of the people being kept in ungazetted places, and this is a thing that we interested ourselves in before. We did a search as a commission. I think that was some time back in 2019. The commission then combed the entire country, and they made their findings public in I think it was the 22nd or 23rd annual report. But this is something that has continued to come up, and we don't say that we disregard it. We continue to keep our attention there, and it's one of the issues that we are following up on to see if there are new or emerging ungazetted places where people are being kept. I think it would also be important for the citizens, and this is where I really implore the citizenry. The citizens are central in this process. On this expedition that we are on to, ascertain some of these allegations, whether it is of missing persons, whether it is allegations of abductions, it would be important for the citizens to be part of this journey. If any citizen has reliable, verifiable information, let them share it with the Uganda Human Rights Commission. Let them offer us that trust to share that information so that it can increase our success rate in our investigation, monitoring, and search expeditions. It's much easier. This is a cause that we are going to have to deal with together as government, the state, and the citizens. It cannot be left to just the Uganda Human Rights Commission or just the security agencies. I think this should be a collaborative effort to verify some of these allegations.
Well, Crispin, one of the things that ordinary Ugandans want to know, how do such things happen? And those that carry them out, how can we hold them accountable? For example, the 5 that we are not able to discover, that means where are they? Who are responsible? We know our constitution, our penal code, our laws in Uganda clearly describe how someone should be arrested, how someone should be detained, and how someone should be tried. And if found guilty by a competent court, serve a sentence, or if innocent, then be free. So this issue of alleged abductions, as a commission, what have been your findings? And how can we really know that if really you're worth your salt, people are facing the wrath of the law for breaking the law by illegally arresting people?
How do these things happen? I'll tell you that in any situation, there is bound to be elements that orchestrate violations. And by the way, these could be state or even non-state actors. And that's an important point to begin from. And that is why every time we see some of these, we receive some of these allegations, the first instinct for an ordinary Ugandan will be, oh, this must have been, these are security agents. Why? Because probably they were donning uniforms that might be associated with certain security agencies. And yet, we also know that there has been liberalization of, not official liberalization, legal liberalization of these uniforms. And sometimes somebody can go and wear a uniform and come and do acts of that violate people's rights. And the assumption will be that was security. When probably, maybe it was not. Maybe it was, maybe it was not. So we have to be very careful that there might be criminal elements that might take advantage of certain laxities to commit certain criminal acts, and you cannot rule that out. But I think for us it is important that when we hear, receive, or get a cue around any of these occurrences, we investigate them maximally and get make our findings known. And then when we make our findings known, by the way, it doesn't stop at that. Now we share our report with Parliament. Parliament should be able to take concrete steps on some of, on all our findings and recommendations. And I will tell you one thing. Just this year, as we commemorate the International Human Rights Day, I want to mention one thing, that for the very, very first time, the Human Rights Committee of Parliament has been able to sit down and review a number of the Uganda Human Rights Commission reports for the years 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, and has already come up with its own report to be tabled on the floor of Parliament. Now, when some people feel that certain actions have not been taken, and yet the Human Rights Commission claims to be there and working, well, we have been producing reports, but these reports have not been attended to. You can imagine right now I am telling you that the Committee of Parliament, the Human Rights Committee of Parliament, just reviewed how many? 4 reports of the last 4 years. So that means there are recommendations that are pending implementation from the last 5 years. Now, that button is not in our court. That ball is actually in Parliament's court right now. And I want to say that, yes, it's progressing. It's a slow process of progress, but there's something that is already being done. And we can only wait to hear from Parliament the recommendations that have been made and how Parliament is following through on the implementations of the recommendations that we have made in our reports. So it's a slow process. Many times when some of these things happen, people want an immediate response. It's natural. And it's natural. Why? Because some of the human rights violations that we're talking about touch the core of the family. We're talking about people who have lost their lives in some cases. We're talking about people who may not necessarily be found in a particular period of time. We're talking about people who have been hurt, who have been injured, and therefore their families, their friends, their next of kin, even they themselves, the complainants, expect an immediate remedy, and we are sensitive to that. But again, I'll tell you, there are slow processes. When you go into investigations, verifications, you have to, in some cases, complaints have to go up to the tribunal level. They have to be heard. A decision has to be made. Compensations have to be given. That's not something that you can sort out immediately. We are cognizant of that. We try to do our best given the resources that are available to us. In some cases, we don't even have resources to deliver on the corest of our mandate. But we try to act within those circumstances. And it's not about, saying that we are insensitive to cases. No, we are not. But it's also quite a number of nuts that you have to bring together to deliver on a specific mandate, and it takes time.
Now, Crispin, let's look at the legal framework, because most of the times when I hear the works you do, and of course even throughout this interview, 1, do you ever feel frustrated? 2, do we have enabling laws to back up your work or your job? Because, for example, people that have been tortured and they're demanding for compensation, their payoff has been very devastating. Billions are demanded in terms of compensation for who have been tortured. When we look at the levels of torture in this country, these acts, and yet we have a commission. Seemingly sometimes we are at the same thing over and over again. Do these frustrate you? Do you feel like maybe it's a uphill task to climb? Is there a spirit, by the way, you know? Is this commission being supported with the due support it requires? Or are you lonely wolves trying to create an impact?
Well, first, the commission thrives on challenge. If a job or an assignment that has to be met is not challenging, then it's boring.
But you're a watchdog, and we expect a watchdog to have mandate, authority, power.
To be associated with that. When it comes to authority, I have told you that the commission is a constitutional establishment with all the powers. We can summon anyone to answer any case with regard to a human rights violation. Anyone within the jurisdiction of Uganda. So that's power. Secondly, and most importantly, yes, we have the enabling laws. They're available. The question that I would also want to ask is, do we have enabling resources to be able to deliver on our mandate? Maybe not. We work under a very, 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 very strict resource envelope. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the commission is the least budgeted for constitutional body in the entire state structure from the consolidated account. So there are challenges that come with that. You cannot run around monitoring all the 200 and something gazetted places of detention across the country. You probably will not be able to conduct the civic education that you need to conduct. Why? Because of those limitations. Because probably by the time you realize that, oh, you want to conduct a civic education across the country, oh, you actually do not have a budget for human rights education at all in the entire budget year. By the time you wake up to say, oh, now we are going to monitor government compliance with international treaty and convention obligations on human rights, you probably do not have funds to even travel to the UN to do that monitoring, or to to Geneva or to Banjul, to where you are actually supposed to be to observe the proceedings as government reports. So there are challenges that we face as a commission, but I would want to say the one of independence is not one of those challenges that we face. The question of clarity of our mandate is not one of those that we face. The question of the legal framework is not a challenge because we have the enabling laws. If only the commission could be supported with the necessary resources to be able to deliver on its mandate fully, I think that would be a plus, and it would push the work of the commission far.
Now, as we near the conclusion of this interview, in the current spell of what is happening, Parliament, we once saw it invite the minister, National Unity Platform is day by day saying we are doing this, we are doing this. At this recent wave that we saw even Honorable Francis Zake trying to hit and become very disorganized on the floor of Parliament regarding the current wave again of abductions, issues of the Toyota Haze, commonly known as the drone. As the commission, what are you doing? Away from the history we had of when we had elections, then the COVID, but what the present issue now that is making headlines, what are you doing as a commission, or what are your plans?
Our plans?
Yes.
What are we doing? We are monitoring the different cases. We are investigating, we are conducting searches on the different cases that have been brought to our attention. But at the same time, it's not about investigating, making findings, public, or enabling people reconnect with their families or rejoin their families. For me, it's about the Commission's role in as far as helping society to understand that respect for human rights is at the core of society, is at the core of peace, stability, and development. And how can we do that? I think we can do that through conducting national human rights, or call it civic education, to all groups throughout the country, so that people can understand why it's important to live in harmony, why it's important to tolerate divergent views, why it's important not to batter your partner in a home, not to batter your children, because we see that these are some of the cases why it's critical that you don't defile somebody, that that rape is simply bad, that theft, robbery, these are just bad vices. We need to socialize those values so that people are able to understand and know that we can be a happier country. We can be a more peaceful country. We can live together as brothers and sisters, and we can leverage our togetherness for strength, for development. And so, as a parting shot, as I near the conclusion, I would want to say that if only the Commission could be supported to deliver on its overall mandate of helping people understand the importance of respecting human rights, we would not have all this happening right now. And when I say people, we need to help the state on one hand, we need to help the non-state actors on the other hand, on how to coexist in the same space, but also how to be a rights-respecting society.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Crispin Kaheru, who is the Commissioner, Uganda Human Rights Commission. Thank you so much for your time. We hope to be getting you more, and of course, another feedback of what your findings would be in ensuring that human rights, human dignity is observed at all times in this country. And of course, all we can say is each of us has a responsibility to ensure that we respect one another's rights. As we enjoy your freedoms, do not triumph over other people's freedoms. Well, we shall be waiting upon your findings, and please this time, at least let us know what the findings could have been.
In fact, you have capped it up so well that where your rights end is where another person's rights begins. So that speaks to coexistence in the same space and why we need to respect each other's rights. Thank you.
Okay, hope to have you next time. Well, I'll leave you with the sports people. They'll be taking you more into sports updates. Good morning for now.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way, because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
Welcome to the Living Room Stadium. It's the FIFA World Cup. The match is about to start. Food and drink ready. There's no space left for anyone. Come on, get your lucky chair. Take your usual spot. Even the puppy has one. It's preparation time. You can feel the tension in the air. And do you have everything you need to believe?
The Ministry of Health informs the public that there are confirmed cases of Ebola in Uganda. We, however, urge the public not to panic as the situation is being managed. The Ministry of Health further reminds the public to be on the lookout for any persons who may show signs and symptoms of Ebola. These include high body temperature, abdominal pains, diarrhea, vomiting, bleeding from the body openings such as the nose, eyes, and mouth. Please inform the nearest health worker immediately if you see anyone with these signs and symptoms. To prevent Ebola from spreading further, please take the following preventive measures: regular washing of hands with water and soap, avoid handshaking and hugging, avoiding any contact with any suspected Ebola patients. Any person who dies suddenly should not be buried but reported to the nearest health worker or LC1 immediately. For further information, please call the Ministry of Health toll-free number on 0800 100 or send a free SMS to your report on 8500. This message is from the Ministry of Health with support from UNICEF and World Health Organization.
Every waking day is a reminder